We all have a story to tell. What can you learn from other people's life experiences, both winning and learning? See, in sports, you win and you lose when the scoreboard hits 0. But in life, the clock is always ticking. So you might as well learn. Winning and learning, never losing. There's a recipe for success, and there's a recipe for repeating.
Self-made. Everybody is self-made. It's only successful people that want to admit it. Like, so, to me, people see this like,
say that again. That's good. Say that again.
We'll be able to contribute. I want to talk about the process of life. I want to talk about life experiences. I want to talk about trusting the process. So I just want to do my part and give back to the community, give back to the youth, and hopefully it touches somebody's lives and motivates them. And that's really what it's all about.
What's up, guys? Coach here, Mark Mendez, real estate coach. I'm very excited to have our first podcast today, Chalk Talk, the open playbook of life, with my two co-hosts, Robert Bailey and Jennifer Serda. Super excited to be here with them. I think they're going to be a great dynamic, all three of us here, sharing life experiences with future guests coming. Want to give a big shout out to Elliot behind the camera. Who's been obviously going to be behind the camera a lot of the times, but I can't leave him out of this. So we also want to thank our sponsor, Alternative Solar, for allowing us to use this venue and just providing us the resources to actually have this open dialogue and conversation. So first and foremost, I'll introduce my co-host. To my left is Robert Bailey.
Hey, y'all doing out there?
And then to my right is Jennifer Serda.
Good morning, good morning.
So Chalk Talk is basically a coach's perspective, so to speak. We've all been coaches, or we all currently are coaches in some form or fashion. Myself in a public school district, Robert Bailey with First Step Athletics, and then Jennifer Serda, also with First Step Athletics at one point, now Certified Fit.
Certified Fit.
Certified Fit.
Certified Fit.
She's actually, I'm trying to get it right. She's actually my personal trainer as well, and we can get into that at some point also. She's helped transform me in a lot of different ways. So what's going on with y'all? How y'all doing today?
Excited to be here.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same, but you forgot on your personal life coach too, so.
He is my personal life coach. He is. I made a post the other day about how, we've seen some progress. I saw quads in my legs, which I've never seen before. So thank you for that. But he's been trying to get me on a workout regimen for a long time and just never really found it. So, and my post was like, it's always the random person that kind of gets you to really kind of see something else in yourself that you may not have seen before. So, well, today's first episode is the process. As you know, I'm big on the process, trusting the process. One of my biggest hashtags, not only in real estate, but just in life in general. So I really just kind of want to ask you guys some questions, and we just kind of go back and forth here. Bailey, what does the process mean to you?
Man, you know what, I'll tell you what, to me, the process really is just getting started. I think that as you get into your process, it's not a hard and fast 1, 2, 3 step. It's always flowing, it's always moving, but the biggest part is just getting started. You got to get started somewhere. I think people, a lot of times, they just get in their own way. They make up an excuse. It's not the right timing, it's not the right circumstance, it's not the right situation, not the right job, whatever the case may be, and they just make excuses not to start. Whereas if you can't start the process if you don't start. You just got to go. So that's what it is for me. I couldn't say, like I said, there's no step by step. There's no playbook to it. You just got to go.
Yeah, and I think that's why when the Chalk Talk, and I said the open playbook of life, because as coaches, we're playbook. Tells us what to do. Everyone's running this play. This is what everyone has to be on the same page. And in the process of life, not everyone is going to have a playbook, and that's kind of why we're also doing this also, because we want to help give a playbook, so to speak, to people that can help them start. To me, the process is actually not even the start, so we'll get on that. But I mean, there's like that famous saying, like, in order to take 1,000 steps, you must first take one, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. So, I mean, that's interesting that the the process to you, your mind automatically goes to just starting, right? So Jennifer, what is the process to you?
I mean, a lot on what Bailey said. It's just being fluid. I think a lot of times we are taught that you have to have a playbook, right? You go through these steps. You graduate college. You get a job. And almost at 40, I'm just now realizing that that's not the way it is. That's not the way it is for me, at least. You know what I mean? Some of us are outside of that box, and being accepting of that because of what society puts on us. That you should do this and that society playbook.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Right? Society playbook, but just realizing that I have to be fluid in this season of my life.
When you say fluid, like what do you mean? Like
that things are gonna change every day. You know, I used to have this A, B, C, D kind of linear progression that I thought that life had to be. And I'm just now realizing that that's not it, you know? It's not it for my life. It goes here, it goes here, it goes there, it goes there. But my end result is still going to be the finish line, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So just being fluid in that sense, not beating myself up. I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up more than anybody else because we didn't take this step or what we thought we should have done.
or what we thought our parents or somebody, some outside
Exactly. Letting
influence
go of
told us
those
we should have done.
chains. I mean, at 40 years old, I'm just realizing that I have to let go of some of those chains that my parents put on me. Not negative, but
Not no wrong
nonetheless,
of their own, right?
exactly.
Like that's what they
Nonetheless,
learned.
they're chains, right? They're chains of what they thought that their life should have been. So this is the way your life needs to be. You know, and so just being fluid.
Yeah.
Trusting the process and being fluid and going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and going. You know, not
I
second
think that's
guessing.
good because that's two different dynamics. Like you're saying started and you're saying like be able to be fluid in it.
Yeah.
And my thing with the process is there's certain ingredients, so to speak, that in everybody's process should or needs to be always there. If you talk about sacrifice, dedication, commitment, those are ingredients in the process.
Right.
Now you talked about your end goal is always going to be the same. And one of the first things I learned about the process is when I started listening to Inky Johnson. All right, if you don't know Inky Johnson's story, I would highly recommend y'all, Google him, one of the top motivational speakers in the world. His story is the process changed his life because he was came from a 14 or 16 living in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment.
One at the foot, one at the head.
One at the foot, one at the head, and he's like, my whole goal was to make the NFL. Why? Because I had to get out of where he was at. Had uncles living in a house, in and out of jail, prison. So that's just the thing that he saw, and that was his outside influence, right? And you said something really important that your family, and I think this is big. As I'm getting in the entrepreneurial world, my family's not. They're more scared for me than they're really. It's not that they're not supportive, but they're like, you're not working a 9 to 5 because.
I'm gonna tell you something with that. Go ahead.
But yeah, but that's what the generations above us is like. Hey, go to college, get a job, or get a degree, and do something with your life, right? And I mean, if I look at it now, as much as I love teaching and coaching, I'm not using my degree, and I'm $67,000 in debt now. Like that's like. Sorry, but that's what we're told to do.
Right.
And it's not necessarily, if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, especially as young people, I've seen some hungry kids, that whatever they decide to do, they're going to be successful in. But their family's like, no, don't do that. Like that's not going to make you money. That's not going to, and that's why I'm a big person on your gift plus your why equals your purpose. You have to find your gift. We all have one. You have to find your why. What wakes you up in the morning is your why, right? Not coffee, Serda. Exactly. And then I think ultimately you're in your purpose, So what are you going to say about it?
It's funny that you say that because, here I am on my own, doing my personal training thing, doing my coaching thing. And at least once a week, my mom's like, well, when are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is a real job.
It's like,
I make more money than a lot of people right now. You know what I mean? But to her, it's not a real job because it's not that 9 to 5. It's
Right.
not that Monday to Friday. It's not that benefits type of thing. You know what I mean? And so there is that fear, you know, even though like, hey, mom, I'm doing this and I got this work and I got this. And
Right.
you know, she's like, that's good. But when are you going to get a real job?
Yeah. And
So
I tell this to older people too. Maybe you can harp on this a little bit. Like, that's what they were taught. We only know what we know, right? So when you talk about breaking curses, I call it breaking generational curses.
that's right.
And like you said, it doesn't always have to be like alcoholism, you know, drug abuse. Those are generational
Yeah.
curses in itself. But and I hate to say broke mindset, but the 9 to 5 mindset, the like you have to work for somebody else type of mindset. And that's okay for some people. Like, you know, if there's kids that want to be a doctor, go be a doctor, then you need to go to school, right?
Absolutely.
But if you can't even, I used to tell kids all the time, if you can't finish your history homework, you know what I mean? Like, history homework, I'm giving you time in class to finish it, and you want to start your own career, you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't have no inner drive. And that doesn't mean they can't find it, but it's like, at some point, I really believe the process is started at a young age.
Yeah.
And if you don't figure out, or someone doesn't come into your life to show you a different way of the process, then you can get stuck in that rut and just figure you have to do those type of things for forever, you know. And then that's why you have people that are not happy. I know you used to work at a job, right, Roadhouse and other places. I know you work in jobs right now that I'm not gonna call no names. I mean, you just look at your face. You're just not happy, right? And there's things that we're working on to get you out of that, so you can enjoy your passion or something that you really love to do, because it's not waking up and clocking in, so to speak, every day, right? So talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, my process right now is definitely not something that I'm not passionate about it.
Right.
I do it because I have to do it. And honestly, for me, this is a topic down the road, but that's my adversity every single day, just trying to get through that. But yeah, I mean, to touch back on what you were talking about with, you know, the 9 to 5, graduate high school, go to college, whatever the case may be. I don't want to necessarily discount people who do that. I mean, your sister's a perfect example. She's highly successful. She's followed those steps, and she's living a great life from what I can tell.
Shout out to my sister, USA. And I love USA. USA, my parents both retired from USA. You know, my sister's there on 20 years. So, but I'm not discounting that at all. Right. But to me, it's like you find a gift, right? And you have a gift, and I don't think it's necessarily doing what you're doing, and you know that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's your adversity, like you said. So how are you going to overcome? How do you overcome that adversity in the process? Like what? So we talked about processes being fluid and changing, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think you could do? Someone that's in your situation that may be stuck or doing it because they have a family and have to provide, and they can't really take that risk. What would you kind of tell them that they?
Well, it just goes back to what Serda was saying. Just keep focused on the goal. I sit there every day and I get lost in the 9 to 5. It's not even 9 to 5. It's 7 to 6, and I'm like, man, what am I doing here? It's a day-to-day type deal. I have to take a deep breath and say, you know what is my end goal? Where am I trying to get out of this? I need to use this situation as my vehicle to get out of here, not necessarily just do this because I have to and get to the day-to-day, but realize, okay, if I can get this goal met and this goal met, then this will mean I can get out of this situation, and I need to take advantage of that. Just sit back, take my lumps, whatever I got to do to move forward.
Okay. So, I mean, I think the thing about when I was talking about Inky's, like he said the process changed his life because his end goal changed. He, I don't know if you're familiar with Inky. Mm-hmm. So he, obviously has no use of his whole right arm, and he was like, but everything he did, sacrifice, dedication, working out. His mom worked at Wendy's, had to flash the lights on for him, to work out. When all that changed, like he could no longer be in the NFL, he was no longer going to be a first-round draft pick. He was like, my process, because I had did the process correctly, my end goal changed, but my life was made better for it. And that's why he's such a top motivational speaker now, right? So when you say it's fluid, what are the certain ingredients or what are the certain things on a day-to-day basis that you think are absolute not fluid?
I mean, you have to have self motivation first and foremost. Being in a role where it isn't a 9 to 5, you are your own boss. You have to have that drive because nobody's gonna tell you to clock in or clock out. Nobody's gonna tell you if you're not here, you're gonna get written up or documented or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So self discipline, motivation. I think that you can teach a lot of things, but I do not think, and I'm just saying,
It's a perspective.
that you can teach hustle. I feel like
True.
you have it or you don't. Urgency, a sense of urgency. I don't think that
Can't teach hustle.
I don't think that can be taught.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest things is just discipline. And hustle. Discipline, hustle, and a vision.
What are your key ingredients to the process? That's
Two things that I love that Serda said. She said motivation and she said drive. Those are two different aspects of getting to whatever goal you have. Motivation just gets you started, like they said.
Absolutely.
But the drive is what will push you to that end goal.
Absolutely.
I would say listening to E.T., one thing that really stuck with me that he would harp on as well is just being diligent.
Yeah.
And that can be a wide variety of situations or tasks that you have to get done in order to reach your goal.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not, you got to be diligent. You have to go through the process.
What's another word for diligent?
I guess something like consistent.
Consistency. Okay, I like that.
Which, that goes back into your drive.
I'm trying to education that kind of gets me off on the diligent thing,
UTSA.
Oh, I guess UTSA. But
Something too that FSA that we have on a shirt that I think about all the time is interested or committed. That commitment piece there. That's something I tell myself every day. Am I interested or am I committed to this? You know what I mean? Is this a hobby or is this what's gonna feed me at night? You know what I mean?
So if you don't know Serda's journey, she actually started working out with us at FSA as a client, and then just found this fire, just lit a fire. Not to say it was us, because I do believe everything's internal, like you said. But you just recently competed in a what is this?
A
bodybuilding competition. Congrats! You actually won some.
2. I took home 2 trophies.
It was like 21 and under award or something like that.
Yeah, I wish.
No, well, tell them
So second place in 35 and up.
Okay.
And then 4th place in novice. So.
Okay.
And first time competing.
And first time competing. I'll take it.
Yeah. Novice means.
Just brand new to it.
I gotta stop using these big words.
Brand new to the my very first show, my very first competition.
So I really want to talk about that for a second, because if we're talking about the process, kind of my next topic is like, when did you realize when did that process or that fire start for you, and why? Like, what changed?
I think that you have to have an alignment with your mind, your body, and your soul, right? And so I felt like my soul, something was missing, my spirit, something wasn't right, And when I started the working out process, that really just helped get the body right, and which kind of poured over into the soul, the spirit, you know what I mean? Okay. So that just kind of transformed me from the outside in, if you will. It was an outlet for me, a positive outlet for me. I had a life tragedy happen shortly, about a month after I started working out with FSA, and I kind of went in the downhill spiral where I was just out every night, drinking every night. I have 2 kids. That just wasn't conducive.
Who was watching the kid? No, I'm joking.
Mind your business. No, I'm just kidding. So, I knew I wanted more from my life. I knew that wasn't adding any value to my life. I knew that they deserved more. So that's when I turned to fitness, and kind of just, that became my escape, my release, and then my passion.
So would you say you found your why?
I found my why. I did find my why through that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Purpose. So, Bailey, you were a college athlete, so you've obviously played at a level that, I don't know what the percentages are, but I played college football too. There's not a lot of us that did it, and I'll be the first to say I played Division III, where we paid basically. You know, they found us, you know, grants and stuff. But in fact, we used to always talk when we were in Division III some of us are more hungry than the guys that are on D2, D1 because we're literally paying to play football. And it was a great experience in life and winning the conference championship at Hardin-Simmons. But you were an athlete, so you played at a high level, right? When did you realize, did it just come naturally as like, were you just always dedicated? Did you already have those ingredients of sacrifice, or where did you draw from that to realize I am in a process? Did you even realize you were in a process?
I guess, no, I really didn't. I mean, from a young age, I mean, I've played sports since I was a little kid, and I think when we played at Columbia, I mean, the people that were in charge at that time, they were truly working on young men, developing young men. Even though we would win, that was great. You know, that's what, as a kid, that's what you want to do. But you don't realize until you sit back and you're like, when I got to UMHB, I'm like, man, these coaches were talking about the same stuff they were talking about when I was 9 years old. I never knew that at this level now is just as important as it was then. But I had that foundation in place, and there's a lot of guys that would fall off and do all kinds of crazy stuff because my only assumption is this is the first time that they're hearing these types of things, that they need to follow this process, because when you get to college, you know what it is. It's a job, basically.
Right.
Like, is wake up, work out, go to class, go back to practice, watch film, go to practice, watch more film, and you do it all over again every single day. And some people can't follow that process. But from a young age, it was instilled in me like, this is what you have to do. You have to be at practice at this time. We're going to run 2 laps around just conditioning. Like,
oh my! I'll never get in 2 laps around the whole thing,
right,
bro.
You just think like you're being punished.
I was always okay. First of all, Columbia is pretty big. Okay, don't do me like that. Okay,
I've seen it.
I've always been a heavy set guy, kid. So I was like, I was always the last. I was always one of the last. You know.
I do believe that. But anyway, back to my point was that when you're
I finished, dog. I finished.
Okay. When you're a kid,
Breathing hard.
you just think, man, this is just, coaches are hard on us. They're just trying to make us work hard, make me tired. And now look at that. Like, these dudes are really telling us that we have to start somewhere. We have to do the same things every day in order to get to, you know, our end goal, which was always trying to get a championship, right? But if we didn't run those 2 laps every day and know that's what we're supposed to do, how are we going to get in games and know, okay, this is my job on this play every single time?
I didn't even take it like that. If you didn't run those 2 laps, I'm like, we still probably would have won. But now that you said that, like you said, knowing the
discipline aspect.
Knowing the discipline aspect. So what you said something real quick though is, at a young age, we were taught this at Columbia, and then when we played college ball, it was very similar, right? So do you think sort of that it has to be taught at a young age, or do you? I mean, obviously, I would think it helps, right?
I believe those seeds should be planted at a young age, but not everybody has those investors. Not everybody has those planters.
I like the way you said that.
You know what I mean? To pour into the youth or the children, you know, unfortunately. So sometimes as an adult, that's the first time that we're hearing certain things. And we didn't have those planted seeds at an early age.
Do you think it comes from adversity? Like, say you don't have someone pointing to you. Say you don't have the coach that changed your life, the teacher, the parent, uncle, whoever it may be, right? Do you think that what is the only thing that can change you changing yourself?
I think it's just seeing what you want for yourself. So when I say that, I feel like a lot of people, I think we're the exception, right? There's a lot of people that don't have as many fortunes as we do, right? Mm-hmm. Even though we have our own adversities and our own struggles, it just comes to a point where, and I say this, you get tired of your own shit, you know. And
we're a family. We're a family.
And you want to make your own. You want to make your change. So it may come through adversity. It may be like, I'm tired of living this life. I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of struggling. You know, I read something the other day that said generational wealth starts with one risk taker. You know, and I believe that.
I felt that one. I'm about to get emotional on that one.
So though you may have adversity, it just comes to a point where some people have that drive to make that change, and some people just accept their situation, and that's good enough for them. You know.
And that's okay too. Like,
That's okay too.
some people, like, their motivation or their why is their kids, their family, and they don't want to take a risk. I think it's okay to live in a comfort zone as far as, like, I don't want to get so much on a job and money, because I believe your purpose will make, the Bible says your gift will make room for you, right? So I don't want to get into much like, oh, quit your job, go be an entrepreneur, go make more money. But there's somebody out there listening that it's not their job, it's their family, it's their, it's something else that is their why. And my thing is, like, you have to challenge yourself in life as some aspect of your life, right? Like, so breaking generational curses or being the risk taker. Maybe it's sticking out of marriage, right? Like, maybe it's like not being the one
That's true.
that gets divorced when everyone else has been divorced, or maybe it's the one that finishing school. Even if you maybe not want it, like, that's a certain accomplishment that you can now. Somebody else, a little cousin. I don't have any kids. I'm not married, so a lot of what I do, obviously, in my mindset, taking this risk and doing the things that I do now, my back was against the wall. And maybe one day that story we'll talk about, but I didn't have a choice, so to speak, right? Like, I had to, and I started to realize maybe I do have a bigger purpose, and God was pushing me towards it. And now I think about, like, I'm trying not to get emotional. Now I think about my little cousins, like my cousin, and they're not little, they're like grown, but like, what can I do for them? Some of them may not be as motivated. Some of them, they may be in that, maybe your situation where they're doing something they don't want to do. And I want to be the one that provides. Okay, what's your passion? Okay, you like to cook? Let's open up a food truck or a restaurant. You like to cut hair? Let's open up a barbershop. Like, I want to be the one that's able to do that for them, because ultimately I just want people to live in their gift and in their purpose, and then we can figure out the rest later. So I don't know where I was going with that, but what you mentioned about that, the generations and breaking those things, like, I think that's a big thing, because people are out there, and again, it's not about money, it's about finding whatever your why is and doing it, right, for them or for whoever it is.
Yeah, because I know we all went to the ET conference.
Oh, man.
I met that dude in the parking lot, looked like a regular guy. It turns out he gets to stand up in the front because he's a CEO of 2 hospitals. And I'm just like, man, I work for an athletic training company. This guy's a CEO of 2 hospitals, and he's in the same boat. Like, he's trying to figure out, what is he doing? Like, what is his purpose? Where does his drive? Like, why is this dude here? He's highly successful in my eyes. This dude's making probably close to 7 figures.
Right.
But we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to
We're in the same conference.
Something.
Right.
Yeah, it's whatever.
And that's the greatest point right there. Is like, it doesn't have to be about money. So this dude's making dumb money, but he probably has different,
demons, adversity, challenges, exactly. Whatever the case is. And to touch on your point about your little cousins, I was talking to a good friend of ours yesterday, Ben, and his wife, her business is taking off, and he's still like. I asked him a question probably 2 years ago, like, what is your purpose? And he still, like, he brought it up last night. He's like, hey, man, like, really, I still don't even know. And it's like, this dude's my age. He's basically just trying to help his wife out, get her business started, but he still hasn't found it within himself. And sometimes, it's been 2 years since I asked him that question. He still hasn't figured it out. But the fact that I asked him that question still has his mind turning, like, what is my purpose? What am I here on earth to do? And it's the same thing. Like, if you never ask your cousins, like, what do you like to do? They just get stuck in the day to day. And I work at, whatever it is, Whataburger or whatever, and they're going to work their way up because they're good people. But that's not their drive. That's not their passion. That's the purpose, because no one's even asking the question. They don't even put any thought into it.
So when you talk about, by the way, that business started in my house, I just want to go there. That eyelash mega business started in the 4th bedroom of my house. I'm just saying, I need some residuals off of that, some royalties off of that. But we talk about Ben, and you'll probably listen to this hopefully but he did take a risk. Oh, yeah. Like, he was in the same industry as you were. He took a risk of, I don't know what I'm about to do. And maybe he has that comfortability because maybe he managed money, or I'm sure they managed money very, very well, and that's why he was able to step away from that job where he was making very good money, and he's still trying to figure himself out, which is, to me, man, I commend it. That's a joy in itself, I would think. Like, maybe not a joy, but it's like, it's to be commended that he took that risk and he's still, you know, trying to figure it out, you know, and he's doing a great job. I mean, that woodworking and stuff, that's great. So,
Hi, I'm Eric with Alternative Solar, and I'm excited to announce our new Texas giveaway. So here's how it works. For the next 100 homeowners who join our solar family in the next 2 months and bring one referral with them that joins, will be entered into our raffle. Now, what's the giveaway? A brand new Tesla. Yes, I said that correct. A brand new Tesla. I'm sure you're wondering, well, what's the catch? Well, the catch is we have to guarantee you and your referral long-term savings. And to show you how confident we are that we can, as well as make the deal worth it, we are willing to pay you $100 for getting a quote if we can't save you money. So why not take a chance to win a brand new Tesla, save money, and do it all for $0 down? Click on the link below to get a free quote. Do it the right way, do it better, go with the alternative.
we've been talking about the process, you know, throughout this first episode, and I just really believe it's a foundation to people. You mentioned getting started, you mentioned ever-changing, and whatever that is, you have to start a process, and you have to figure out your process, right? I like what you said about earlier. Motivation is what gets you started, and then what did you say after that?
Drive is what
keeps you going, right? David Goggins' book that I listened to, you know, that was good. He's like, F motivation. Motivation is temporary. And I think people lose sight of that. Like, as someone that I consider to try to motivate people, I try to motivate them daily, right? Because who I maybe, or I should say who we've motivated as yesterday, maybe they're starting, but then the next day there's someone that didn't start yesterday. So I think that's why what we do and what we're trying to do with the podcast is to continue to put out motivational content where people can listen to this. And you just, you know, as a teacher and a coach, I was like, if I change one kid's life, then I did my job, right? And so that's kind of, I think, what we're doing. In that, I guess my next question would be is, and I'll go to you, Serda, first. Who do you think influenced, like, obviously yourself, self-motivation.
Sure.
Who did you either look up to, either in terms of like your family or outside resources? Who do you think shaped your process the most?
I think lately I've just really been surrounding myself with like-minded people. So I can't say it's been one particular person per se.
We have to, that's the question.
But it's been a group of people that actually I've met through you guys, through, you know, Jared, yourself, Coach Mercer, Sean, you know, just people that are entrepreneurs that I look to them for advice. I look to them I reach out to them daily, weekly. Hey, what do you think about this? What about your process? Not because I want to mimic it, but they've been successful in certain regards. And so, what's that one saying? If you're in a room with millionaires, then you're the sixth millionaire. If there's a room of five, you know, if you're in a room with five idiots, you're the sixth idiot. You know what I mean? So I'm trying
to say too.
What room are we in?
What room are we in?
Somewhere in between.
I've heard it put like this: if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same thing, right? But you know, like birds of a feather flock together, type of thing. So okay, I like that. Idiots and
that's what I read. Millionaires and idiots.
What was that?
I was on Instagram.
I know, like she looked hard at me on idiots, right? I'm like, dang.
Instagram wisdom.
I need a new personal trainer. I feel personally attacked right now.
So who was shaped by process? Just a lot of like-minded people recently.
You said something about not trying to copy other people's process, or you asked them not to copy. As coaches, especially, you know, sports, it's like there's only 11 people on the field, right? It's the NFL is called a copycat league. Whoever's successful, people start doing it.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't become successful, then they go to the new fad, right? But I mean, football's been played for so long, and we'll draw sports a lot. That's just me. But there's only 11 people on the field. The basketball court is only 5. And on the soccer field, there's only, 11? 9? 11. So I'm not a soccer guy. But hockey, I don't know, right? The point is, the game's been played for so long, there's only so much you can do, right? But you can draw, and as coaches, I think you should be able to see another playbook, so to speak, and then adjust it to your own, right? So Bailey, I'll ask you the question next. Who shaped your process the most, or either in the past or currently? Other than myself, of course.
Okay, I'm
talking to my life coach, I forgot.
And I don't even know where I could begin. There's so many different checkpoints in my life that I could say, this person was highly, influential.
Talk about your young checkpoint first.
My young checkpoint, it's very close to home, but it taught me not so much what I wanted to be, but what I didn't want to be. So, that may be counterintuitive or whatever the case may be. I don't want to get too deep into it,
right.
But just to bring it all back, I'm in the mindset that you can learn from every person that you meet, positive and negative. So you can use that to, formulate your own personality, drives, whatever. So that was my young checkpoint. As growing up through adolescence, high school, definitely coaches, huge influence. We spend a ton of time at school, whether it be football, basketball, track, whatever. They all have different, their own experiences and family situations or whatever. Some of them were, on the one end, way left, and some of them, what was it called? Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So you got a broad range of guys that have been through a lot of the similar things that I've been through now that I can draw from. Okay, this coach, he taught me this, or positively or negatively, so to speak. As a young adult, man, I had a long relationship with a young lady that it was detrimental to my growth. And it's not because she was a bad person or, we weren't abusive to each other. Nothing like
Clearly
that.
not your wife now, right?
The problem was that I got way too comfortable in that situation. She was enabling me to be in like a vegetative state, so to speak, mentally, physically, emotionally. And when we broke up, man, I thought it was the end of the world. And then 3 months later, I'm like, man, this was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Addition by subtraction, because now I realize, man, I was lacking on this, and this, and now I'm getting on the right path. I'm getting on a new process to become a better young adult. And then obviously when I met you, specifically another person that we know, Richard, man, I never knew what a leader was until I met that dude. Like, at craziest circumstances to meet somebody who would really teach me about management of other people, being able to dive into other people, wearing different caps, being able to relate to them, and motivating them to be the best that they can be. Richard's the type of dude who can dog you out, and you get out of that meeting 15 minutes later, and you feel pumped up, ready to go, and you're like, man, look, this dude just told me. But yeah,
one of my players has cussed me probably more. The only other person that's cussed me more on the sideline is Moose, but Richard.
Probably, yeah.
But I think we should talk about Richard for a second, because if we talk about entrepreneurship, and that's kind of where we've leaned a little bit today, Richard started at Whataburger, flipping burgers.
Started on the mop.
On the mop. See, I didn't even know that. I thought it was just flipping. But Richard started at Whataburger as a regular employee and worked his way all the way up to an area manager. And we've seen his daughters grow up. I ended up teaching his daughter my last year in school. And I used to tell the story all the time, because it's like, whatever you do, if you do the process correctly, like he's a leader no matter what he does. And so what he learned at an early age taught him, and then he was definitely making double what I was making as a teacher. And he didn't have no degree. He didn't have anything like that, right? So like that's an example in itself right there to tell you, doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, doesn't have to be a big company. If you really be who you are and trust the process, be the natural born leader that he is, he worked his way all the way up, right? And so that's a great example of that, because Man, he's a great guy. He cusses me a lot on the football field, but we won't talk about that. So, sir, one of the other last things, what would you say to someone to motivate them to, or I don't like to keep using the word motivate, but to start that process?
First, you got to understand your purpose, your why, right? For a long time, I didn't know. I was lost, just kind of going through the day by day in a job that I didn't care to be in a relationship that, Bailey touched on it. If you don't have that right person by your side, it literally sucks the life out of you. And that's in any relationship, whether it's a romantic, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a family member. If they are not feeding into you the proper way, it sucks the life out of you, right? So to just start the process, know your purpose, have a game plan, an end goal, but don't be too rigid on the steps, right? Be fluid with them. Know that I'm at A, I want to get to B, but it may take me a few different steps, and have grace with yourself, Do
you think people focus too much on the end goal? Like, I think a lot of young people will say, well, I want to be married at this age, I want to have this college degree at this age. Is that what you mean about being fluid? Or like?
I think so. It does, because you have, and again, I feel like it's society putting these parameters on you, right? To be married by this age, to have kids by this age. And I feel like we're moving towards a little away from that now.
Let me ask you a deep question. You think society putting that, or you think it's us looking at society and putting it on ourselves?
I think it's a combination of both.
Deep.
I think it's a combination of both,
Okay, yeah, I agree.
I always felt that if I didn't have kids by this age, that I wasn't doing something right. Or if I wasn't married by this age, then I was doing something right. So
where does that come from, is what I'm saying?
A lot of it, my parents.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure my parents have only been in a relationship with each other.
You're pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure. They've been married for almost 50 years,
Wow.
so from a young age, it was, you're going to go to school, you're going to get a job, you're going to get married, you're going to have a family, you're going to have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it was.
Hey, but you did have 2 kids, a boy and a girl.
That was my luck.
Okay.
So, what was the question? I'm left.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, this is good, because my question to that is, now you made me forget my question. When you said that about your parents, because it's not their fault, because they learned it from their parents, right?
Yeah.
Why, who has to change that, or why do we have to change that mindset?
I think that's not the way it is now. People are starting later, and it's okay.
Yeah, Mom, not having kids.
To not live by somebody else's expectations or somebody else's playbook, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happens a lot of times. For me, I felt I had to live by this playbook, but it wasn't my playbook. And so things never really lined up, and they never sat well with me in my spirit, because that wasn't my destiny. That wasn't my path. It was somebody else's path,
Do you, so other people's life experiences, I think it's good to see other people. I posted last time on Facebook when I was thinking about this podcast, like, man, take joy in other people's success.
Of course.
Because at some point you're going to be in a valley, but at the same time you're in the valley, someone's going to be on the mountaintop. And if you can take joy from seeing someone else's success, it's not that you're trying to be them, or you're not trying to, you shouldn't feel bad for yourself, but it should give you hope. Mm-hmm. Because, a lot of people, I always tell them in real estate, I'm doing pretty well right now. And people see me holding up the key, with the families and stuff. But they don't know the process. Mm-hmm. They don't know how hard it was to get to that point.
That's true.
People will always see, and like you said, we live in a society where Instagram, Facebook, and I try to be transparent as much as possible without ever getting too deep in my own personal life to try to motivate other people. But it's like, if you don't have the valleys, you can't appreciate the highs, right? But you can't let that be, like you said, you can't copy someone else's playbook. Mm-hmm. Baby, touch on that for a little bit. Like, do you think we too much as a society worry about what other people are doing instead of keeping our blinders on?
So yeah, man, totally. I mean, social media got you thinking everybody's out there just living on boats and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and Santorini.
Hold on, Sunday, you talking about me?
Yeah, you're one of those people.
Wow.
But anyways, yeah, people, everybody sees a trophy. They don't see the work that you put in. Serda, a great example. They see her on stage, but they don't know, you know, she's up 5 a.m. grinding, trying to get her physique to where she wants it to be.
I saw her. She was mad every morning. You know, these are her two. I'm hungry. That's all she tells me while I'm working out, bro. I'm hungry because she's always working out, right? Why don't people post their valleys more? You think?
I think it's just all about status, really. I mean, nobody wants to look. So, my hoodie. Shout out to myself for making this. Self-made. Everybody is self-made. It's only successful people that want to admit it. Like, so to me, people see it as like,
say that again. That's good. Say that again.
Self-made. Everyone's self-made. Only successful people want to admit it. So I wear this, and people think, well, you know, at work, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but like I'm fit. Like I work out, I put in the work, whatever, and everyone's like, you got muscles, whatever. And I'm like, I don't wear this as like a crowning jewel, but I wear this as almost like a cross, so to speak. Like I am who I am because I made this. Whether that's good or that's bad, good, bad, ugly. You know, because I'm not perfect. There's plenty of things that I wish, you know, maybe at this time I would have done that or worked a little harder at this situation or whatever the case may be. That all molded me to the person I am. It's not just this outward appearance or maybe the way that I handle certain situations in a positive way. It's you mold who you are. You truly do. And if you can own that's the first thing. This is self-reflection. You know what I mean? Like you can realize where you've gone wrong and the successes that you've done. You don't get too high, you don't get too low, and you keep focused on your goal. You follow your process, whatever that is. And like Jen said, if you swerve out of it and you get back on path, as long as you have this is A, this is B, how am I going to get there? And you're willing to just to continue to work forward. It's progress, not perfection, is something that we've talked about before. But people, they just, as far as, you know, putting, you know, certain things out there, they only want you to see the very best of them. And you can't measure yourself against somebody else, like you said, because that person could be on Instagram or standing on top of a mountain, but deep inside you didn't know that their, you know, the mother or father passed away from COVID recently or whatever, and they're struggling through all kinds of stuff. That's just a coping mechanism for them. You shouldn't just base your life because of a photo or a post or whatever it is.
Man, that what you said. Only successful people want to share like they're self-made, right? Because most people will always attribute it to circumstance, right? Or I didn't have the best opportunity, you know, I didn't come from a two-parent household or whatever it may be, right? It's always somebody else's reason why they're not successful or not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right, in life. I believe we're a product of our choices. Our life is a product of our choices and what we choose. You know, every choice has a consequence, and consequences I think has such a bad kind of derivative. Is that the word? That's my wordsmith. Just
connotation.
Connotation. There you go. Okay. Hey,
derivative like tangent.
John Jay, baby, John Jay. But the point is, I think consequences has a bad time. Connotation is there's good and bad consequences. Yeah. I used to tell my students, they're like, "Well, I'm not gonna do my homework." I was like, "Okay, I don't care." You don't care? No, that's your choice. Yeah. Well, I don't have to. You don't have to. Like freak out. Like I don't have to. No, but when you got a 0 in the grade book, that's the choice you chose, right? So
causation.
Exactly, cause and effect. So, just to kind of wrap it up here, my last little thing is, just because I'm blind, guys, work with me. I'm gonna get better at this. What would you? Well, I don't need glasses. I have contacts. I have bad eyes.
Glasses and contacts?
So it's not gonna always be serious here, you know. So what's the last thing you would like to say? Just kind of closing up and wrapping up, Serda, about the process. When you think the process and what you want to leave people with today's episode, what would you like to leave them with?
The process is forever changing. You know, the process is forever changing yourself. The moment that you become stagnant, it's time to kind of reel it back in, go back to the drawing boards for me, and start the process again. So.
Okay. Bailey, what would you leave people with?
Find a goal and get started. That's it. Start your process.
Okay. And I think for me, the last thing I say is like draw from others' life experiences. The reason why I want to have guests, the reason it's not just me, the reason it's Serda and it's Bailey, because we've all had a different life experience. We've all had a different process. It started at a different age for all of us. You know, you saying a lot older, Bailey started younger. I guess I would be kind of in the middle, but the point is life experiences are always going to allow you to draw. I think, and I'll say this many times, I think it's done when people say, I have to go through it myself to learn. No, you don't. Like, you went through something, I went through something. If we're good friends and we can openly communicate it, you know, you have those relationships, like what E.T. and them call anchor relationships. Mm-hmm. You know, you should be able to learn. You know, I should be able to learn from everybody around me life experience. So why should I have to go through it, the pain? Why should I have to go through the hurt if you did and I'm like, okay, let me not do that. You did, let me not do that, right? So draw from other people's experiences in life to help shape your ever-changing fluid process and get things started. So I think that will wrap it up for this first episode. I really, really appreciate y'all coming out here. Remember, the process is whatever you make it. And like Bailey said, just get it started. And like Serda said, just keep adjusting it. Keep changing your playbook, keep rewriting your playbook, and that's it. So I want to thank Serda, Coach Serda. I want to thank Coach Bailey, Ellie behind the scenes. Just remember, your gift plus your purpose is going to equal your why. Thank you for turning into Chalk Talk, the open playbook of life. We'll see you on the next episode where we'll be talking about adversity and
More adversity.
More